Inspired by Love is a podcast hosted by Rachel Love, dedicated to promoting inspiration, hope, and giving a healthy dose of God's love for every aspect of life. Rachel is a seasoned inspirational enthusiast who uses witty commentary and biblical truths for real-life solutions, offers business strategies, health and wealth tips, and self-love care. Unlock the power tools to dig deeper, discover your untapped potential, and live your best extraordinary life. Here's your host, Rachel Love.
And hello, I'm Rachel Love. I'm the host of Inspired by Love, and I am so excited today because we're going to be talking about marriage and dating as God designed. And our special couple today is Miss Jonah and Harvey Worlitz. Did I say that right? Did I get it?
Yeah.
Okay. I was struggling. I was like, oh, did I get the last name correct? That's always a big deal to me because names, that's all we're known by, right? So without any further ado, I'm really happy that you both said yes to share your love story and just kind of bring people we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit and just give us a glimpse of married life. You guys are the youngest married couple for this series, and we'll be airing all month long in February, the month of love, and just really showcasing Black love, Black excellence, and what it matters to us, and how we should really take it in. So, without any further ado, I'm going to ask you, Jonna, if you could just share a little bit about yourself, maybe give us a little hobby that you like, and just tell us where you're from.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us to talk with you today. I'm Jonalisa, and I'm originally from South LA near USC.
Whoop,
Hobby,
whoop.
um, hobbies. I love to travel. I love being by the ocean. I love exploring. I love food. And what was the last thing you wanted to know?
Where are you from? You already said that. So,
Okay.
and Harvey, the same for you. Same question.
Yeah, well, again, thank you so much for having us, and I think the platform you have and showcasing Black love and Black excellence is something that is so important, and I know that we're very honored and privileged to be a part of your show. So my name is Harvey Worlitz. I'm from Redondo Beach, California, or LA, to be a little bit more general.
Whoop, whoop.
So my hobby, I love to travel, just like Jonna. We do a fair bit of traveling together already and early in our marriage. But I also love Audible. So I've been kind of on an audiobook kick lately, listening to a lot of books. And I've also recently got into the stock market and trading stocks and
Yep, trading stocks. Now, what about currency, Forex?
I'm
That's
very
my
much a
fave.
newbie. So
That's one of my faves. So I'm gonna
yeah.
let you continue because I don't want to monopolize this conversation because
No, but
I definitely want to hear your perspective. So
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I think that was all I was gonna
See, you,
mention.
you
So
just triggered me when you said stocks, it's like, because really, here it is. 3% of the economy, 3% of the nation is involved in stocks and foreign currency. And so that's one of the things that we have this platform so we can educate, so we can empower others, so we can just bring them in, because if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know, right?
mhm,
And
Right.
yeah.
so it is an additional stream of income. And since the pandemic has hit, that has been one of my hidden gems that I've been able to tap into. So I'm really excited about it, and hopefully we'll get to come back to that. So yes, our show today is about Black love and how Black love matters. And I just kind of want to know from you both, and I'm going to start with you, Harvey. What is your definition of love?
Oh, wow.
It's a good
That's
question.
that is a good question. I think for me, love is fully accepting and appreciating yourself, the way that God loves us. And I feel that when you are connected to that, you are then able to share God's love with friends, with family, with spouses. Yeah, that's what I think.
And Jonalisa, what would you say love is?
Wow, that is a deep theological question, but I would say first, obviously, God is love, and that's where the purest form of love comes from. But in addition to what Harvey said, fully accepting yourself, you know, we often quote scriptures, love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
And we don't think about what it means to truly love yourself.
That part.
But I think love is on a basic level towards other people. You really seek and want the best interests of that person, for that person, and fully appreciating, valuing, and accepting who they are. And then in addition, just the actions that come with that, you know, people love to have like 1 Corinthians 13 read at their wedding, but the things that it's saying, and like love is patient and kind, always enduring, hopeful, all those things are really sorry. Our
One of our lights, we just had
it's okay.
a technical.
Yeah, you don't have to even.
There we go.
It's fine.
Okay, so
we can edit that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Too.
Yes. So should I start over?
No. You're fine. We're gonna keep going.
Okay. I would say love is action too. It's how you actually treat another person and your willingness to sacrifice.
Yeah.
For the sake of another person.
Wow. Well, you know, what kind of brought this conversation on, as Jonalisa, you know, and I've shared with you, Harvey, that I recently lost my husband 3 years ago now. In March will be 3 years. And I was just struggling with the ideal of being, you know, newly single again, and just really finding my way. So I thought it would be really nice to hear from other married couples on the search of the one. You know, there's always conversation about, how did you know she's the one? How did you know he was the one? So I want to kind of come in from maybe like a biblical standpoint, but I think I really want to say it is a knowing from within that lets you know when you meet that life partner that they are the one. So Harvey, why don't you start? Give us, you know, your, I don't know if you had a ritual or if you had a checklist or whatever, but just kind of share, especially I know there's a lot of single women that have never been married and that desire to be married and desire to be found by someone. So maybe this will kind of help them along in presenting themselves.
Yeah, I think for me, it was really before I began my journey to find the one, I was very intentional about doing my own work, because in a marriage, you know, you have two people that have their own traumas, their own situations, and you're bringing, you know, those two worlds together. And for me, I knew that because I was now dating intentionally for my wife, that I needed to be in a position where I can fully give myself. And in order to do that, there's a lot of work within that you need to do. And so it was a journey for me personally.
How long?
And about a decade. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had reached a point about 2017, fall of 2017. I'd done all the things that, people say, like focus on your career, as a man and as a woman, especially as a Black woman, financially making sure that, I have my act together so that I can, merge my life with someone else, because let's be real, finances is a very, very serious aspect of marriage, and you need to have that together.
Number one.
But also emotionally, it was really about kind of going back to what we were saying about really loving myself. I felt a lot of shame and a lot of embarrassment, because when you're single and you have your ecosystem of friends, and maybe these are people that you love and adore, but it's like, okay, how come they're finding their person, or how come things are happening for them, but I find myself keep hitting a brick wall. And so it really took some time within myself to be like, it's okay to be where I am.
Yes. Wow, that's deep.
And that was very, it's so easy to articulate now, but going through that journey, it's so hard to really accept and wrap yourself around that, like what's that snake that I can't think of?
The python?
Python, yeah. And because it's something that you really need to hang on and receive and accept and really believe. And so in 2017, I had prayed to God, and it's just so distinct because I felt like all of my ducks were in a row. I was like, God, I'm ready. I'm ready. We've been through this spiritually. I feel like, I did this, got aligned spiritually, got aligned with my career, got aligned, emotionally, everything.
Physically.
And yeah, physically as well. And I was no longer asking God.
Yeah.
I was calling God out. And I was like, it's time. I'm ready. And it's that saying, like, be careful what you pray for, because almost a year to the day I met her. And almost a year to the day we were on our honeymoon after meeting her. So 2 years, it kind of came full circle, but it was really about knowing that, okay, I've called God out.
And he heard you.
And he heard me, exactly. And now I need to walk in that truth. So I have to make myself available. Yes. I can't use smoke and mirrors. I can't use a lot of the things that people do as defense mechanisms that in some aspects derail relationships. If I'm looking for the one, I need to be vulnerable. I need to be emotionally available, not just with the person I'm meeting, but with myself. Yeah. I have to know, okay, and you mentioned checklist. Yeah, I did have a list, and I knew exactly what I wanted. And I think in meeting Jonna, the reason why we dated for 5 months and then was engaged for 5 months and then got married, I knew what I wanted. Yeah. But I also know God listened to me and provided me what I prayed for, and it's what I deserve.
Now that's rich. That is rich. Now, Jonalisa, my question to you is going to be a little different, because from the male perspective, it is believe that the man finds the wife and that God presents her in some way. So, what were your aspirations in looking for your mate? How did you prepare for your mate?
That is a great question. I would say it was similar, honestly, to what Harvey said. I did my work.
Mhm.
I did my emotional work. I went to therapy in my 20s, and did, kind of the recovering from different childhood things, all the work that a lot of us need to do.
Yes.
I got my degrees. I finished school and was on doing different career track things, and just kind of, I had my life. I mean, I went to Ghana a couple times and traveled to different countries around the world, and I lived my life, and I also really developed my relationship with God. Knowing God's voice has been the single most important thing for my life. Dating, career decisions, just life decisions, period. Spending time with God and knowing God's voice was really important and a big part of how I prepared for my spouse.
I kind of want to interject right there because that is a key point, knowing God's voice for yourself. And God speaks to us differently because we're all individuals, but He knows us all deeply. He said He knew us in Jeremiah 1:5 before
Yes.
He formed us in our mother's womb. And so when I reflect on that, I'm like, okay, Lord, you knew me before I was in my mama's womb. So we was having conversations before then. Then He said, I wrote on your heart. So God has placed desires and giftings within us. And at a certain time, He expects us to develop and bring them forth. And so, John and I served in another ministry together. So I kind of know her personally. And, it's amazing to hear this story because here Harvey is believing God for one thing. He's believing God is going to bring his mate. And he said he did the work. That's rare to hear men say they did the work. Most men say, man, she is attractive and I went after her, but he said, no, I prayed and I asked God. No, basically, I called God out and said, look, it's been 10 years. I've done this, and this. Now, where's my wife at? and sure enough, as he's looking, she appears. And so I just think that's a beautiful love story. And so now we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're talking about Black love. How is that different from other love? I'll just say other because there's other. So how would you describe it? How would you say, because we really haven't had like examples, of a peer relationship where they're, I can recall like, Ozzy and his wife, Ruby, and it was like on television and in movies, it was like, yeah, that's beautiful, but we didn't know them in real life. And so I think what most Black African American individuals are missing is that two-parent household where there's a husband and there's a wife, and how they've merged together and become one, and now they're mirroring their love. They begin to have children and grow children and nurture those children. And so I think, we're all in search of love as humans. And God is saying the love is right here. When we tap in to God, He allows us to have a relationship with Him and then have a relationship with others. So, how does Black love, what does that entail to you both? Jonalisa, you can go first.
Wow. Okay. So obviously, all love is beautiful, but you're right. There is a difference between like a multiracial or interracial relationship, you know, people of other ethnicities that are together, and Black love. I think I've been in a lot of different settings with all kinds of people, and even more predominantly white and Asian settings for when I went to seminary. But I knew that I wanted to marry a Black man. And I was open to the possibility of other, but I knew that I wanted to marry a Black man. And part of it is just there's an understanding that's there of the specific obstacles that we face as a people. And the obstacles that you even face as you're attempting to move forward and build whatever you want to build as a couple. So for us, I think even with our we have very different family backgrounds and life stories. And like you said, we didn't necessarily have those examples of great marriages in our household, but we did see them other places. And I think that I would just say that there's an understanding that is just there. And an appreciation for what it took for each of us to become who we are, and for each of us to get to the place of thriving. There's just a natural understanding of that.
Awesome. Harvey, what is your definition or your example of Black love?
Black love to me is the American dream. I grew up in the foster care system, and the family that had adopted me were white. And I grew, so from the age of 4, I grew up in a, white neighborhood, went to a predominantly white school. So my lens into the Black experience growing up, I got from movies and television shows. And it was something that really had me in a state of cognitive dissonance, because on one end, things around me, right, were quote unquote, normal, in the sense of like my friends' parents who are white, they've been together for, 25, 30 years. That's amazing. But I was always confronted in real life when it came to friends' parents, divorced, or divorced and remarried, or it was always fragmented. So I had a really hard time reconciling that. And then the only time I would see a healthy Black, relationship or Black love, was the Cosby Show, or, Family Matters.
Yes.
Or so, and that within itself is a bit troubling, because it's not real life.
Not real life.
And so for me, Black love is true love, and it is all the things that we see in other cultures. Like we can do it too. We are doing it. We can have it all. We can do it all. We aren't painted into a box. We are greatness. We can inspire. We can thrive. We can instill courage and love and build a legacy, just like the Rockefellers and just like all these other, ubiquitous names that we hear. We can do it too. And we don't need to be in the history books. Let's start at home. And I think for me, at home within Black families that is something very complex to unpack as well. But it can be done. And for us, breaking family cycles, breaking, Black community cycles, is something that we aren't going to do. We are doing. And
We're doing
to
it.
me,
I love it. I
that's
love it. So I really wanted to bring this conversation into the homes, at the dining room table, because that's where, in a family, that's where the family business was discussed, right?
Right.
And so over a meal, over
Mm-hmm.
coffee, over, a drink or whatever, we sat at the family table and we discussed, this is where I'm trying to take the family, this is where we're trying to go. And so I'm glad that you are tapping in on these different topics, because it really is going to take us into the next topic, which is the pandemic, the coronavirus. Now, we said at the onset, this subject is about married and dating couples, that they want to see, like, what's the real. Give us the real. Don't give us no fake, phony. We're going to keep it 100, right? And so I was wondering, well, how are people dating now? They want to find their life mate. How are they expected to find someone, and it's coronavirus? So can either one of you kind of tackle that a little bit?
I'll start. So Harvey and I met on a dating app called The League, which is they advertise themselves as being for ambitious singles.
Okay.
And they and other dating apps are doing like video dating.
I like that.
So where in maybe even video speed dating, where in a night you're able to go on a video date with several people to see, and then at the end you click if you connected with any one of those people that you met. So I think people are getting really creative in some ways. For some people, I could see that this is an opportunity to strengthen their dating relationship if they met someone, because you really can't do much except talk. I know some other couples who are, the person they're dating is like the one person they're allowing themselves to be together with during the pandemic. If they live alone or things like that, they'll have dates and they're not hanging out with a lot of other people. But that's what I'm aware of. It's still there's still time, and actually I think it's a good opportunity to meet people because the distractions are removed. All the stuff that you normally would have on your calendar is not there right now. You have time. Nobody is super busy right now, on the weekends or whatever. You may have work, but you have time to date if that's what you want to do, and if this is the right time for you. So that's what I'm aware of. What do you think, babe?
I mean, she kind of checked all the boxes there.
Okay.
The only thing that I would add to that is just, this time where really virtual dating is essentially, the only option, unless you've already, have met the person and you trust them, and you want to, see each other in person at each other's houses, or whatever you have worked out, is that it's almost like sleepless in Seattle, but like in real life, where all you have is a telephone or a camera. So it's a great opportunity to cut through a lot of the fluff of dating and get to the core of establishing a relationship and connection and really finding a bond. Because like Jonna said, a lot of the noise, a lot of the distractions is gone. And so you have two ways to look at it. It could be like, another video date, like, what am I going to do? Or, it's a way to really show your creativity and your heart. And it can be a window into accelerating relationships where you can get to a point of, this is somebody that I really want to invest in, or this is, something that, I maybe, isn't working out for me, and moving on. And that intentionality, I think just will be a catalyst for efficiently dating in a time where it's just been so difficult to connect.
That's very interesting because I do have a lot of single friends, women that have never been married, and I don't know if they're doing online, but I mean, this is definitely giving solutions to problems. So you're not just coming on, just, talking about something out of the sky. You're saying this really worked for us, So for someone that is really intentional and purposely dating, that might be an option, a viable option to be exact. So I personally have not been dating. I did look at a dating app and I just felt like a fish out of water. Like, what am I
Of course.
doing? I really haven't dated. Really, and it seems like over the span of my years, and I'm a seasoned individual, that I've been married 30 years. So it's like, kind of coming out and starting to date, I wouldn't even know what to do. So you've just kind of given me some insight on, how to go about it and how to navigate, because, there's no handbook. We didn't come with instructions. The Bible is the only blueprint that we have. And it really doesn't talk about dating. It only talks about, and there was Adam, and then God put him to sleep, and then next thing you know, he's presenting Eve, So it's like, well, is that how it's supposed to be? Because I don't know. So maybe let's go into the next subject, because I wanted to touch a little bit about the statistics on marriage and domestic violence, and how people are dealing with just being cooped up in the house and not being able to get out. And so maybe there's frustration, maybe someone has lost their job, and how the woman is relating to the man and how she's trying to smooth things over, and sometimes tempers rise. So let's kind of talk about that a little bit, because I know that's a real subject that people are really dealing with. So Harvey, why don't you lead that one?
Yeah, I think I'll start a little bit more holistically, and then maybe kind of bring it more to us, because I mean,
domestic violence.
It's that's a lot to unpack. Obviously, domestic violence is something that's just been prevalent, not only in marriages, but just in society as a whole, right? What the pandemic has done, in some ways, it's really exacerbated, a prevalent issue, because now where you had that escape to your schedule or your job or traveling, now you're within close quarters 24/7, 365.
That part.
And when you're in close quarters 24/7, 365 with anybody, there's bound to be some conflict, right? The issue is that there's already toxicity in the nucleus of your relationship.
Yes.
Right? And so,
Take your time.
Yeah, no, it's just something that for me, it really hits home, because I'm a Black man, and when we talk about family dynamics within the Black community and Black families,
yes,
and being a newlywed, and being in a situation where it's awesome, I'm with my wife all day every day. What newlyweds get that?
Right.
So I see it really as an opportunity. But I getting to just being with someone, no matter who it is, there's always going to be something. Yes. Right? And what I try to do, and I'm not perfect, but it's when there's conflict, I always tell friends and family, like, you have to fight fair, right?
Yes.
Conflict actually is healthy. It's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But how you navigate and maneuver through the conflict, and when conflict turns into physical confrontation,
Yes.
right? Because domestic violence isn't about physicality, it's about power. The physicality is a byproduct of the power one wants over someone, right? So when I have conflict, you know, it's there's no name calling, there's no demeaning of the other person. You don't tear the other person. This is my rib, this is my wife. I love,
that's it.
She's going to be the mother of my children. Where do I get off calling her all these names or making her feel so bad about herself? I'm supposed to lift her up as she is to me.
Yes.
You submit to your wife in conflict. Your wife submits to you in conflict, right? And submit in the sense of there's a level of respect and dignity.
Wow.
It is not easy, right? In those moments, right? But, you know, for me, you know, I grew up in a house full of women, my mom, all my sisters and my nieces. And, you know, physicality against women has always made my stomach turn. It's just, I literally have a physical reaction every time I hear a story on the news about celebrities or friends. That is just such a that's just a place I don't go. It's a place that I don't even think about. But how do you get to that point, right? If you kind of take that 360 view, and I really feel like, you know, in conflict, it should never be me versus Jonna versus the problem. It should always be me and Jonna versus a problem. In the good days and the bad days, it's team us.
Wait. You didn't say your hashtag. Run that back. Run it back. Team us. That is your hashtag. So yes.
Hashtag team us.
I'm celebrating that. Team us.
Yeah. But I think, you know, it for me, because I can't speak for everyone, and everybody has their emotional struggles and traumas and things that cause them to do certain things. But for me, it's always remembering that this is a woman I would lay my life down for. Where do I get off trying to do something to intentionally hurt her? Conflict happens. We can disagree. We talk through it. And then, of course, you know, making up's always fun too.
Of course, the makeup. That's always fun.
Team us accelerated, but
exactly. So, Jonna, how are you feeling? What is your input for this topic?
Domestic violence. I agree with kind of the introduction you gave to the topic, that the pandemic and being at home has caused things to boil over. Even for people who didn't have an abusive relationships before the pandemic, for some, the economic stress that people are under, the being together all the time and all of that has led to an increase in domestic violence for people who didn't have abusive relationships already. And then, of course, the ones that were already in abusive relationships, it's worsened. And so I would say that the pandemic is going to, if you're in a relationship and you live together, it's going to show you what your relationship is.
It's going to show you. The real you is going to show up.
The real you, the real them. There is no hiding during this time because there's nowhere to go. There's the social events that we all would fill our weekends with, and all of that are gone. So it's you and your spouse.
Yes.
Or you, your spouse, and your children.
Oh yeah, that. Woo, parents, to any parents out there, we have the utmost respect for you because, it's been almost a year of just parents at home with kids, but I'm really saddened by the domestic violence
Mhm.
as a whole. That's an issue that is really close to my heart. I
Yeah.
truly believe that women and men deserve healthy relationships, and that safety is such an important part. Like, your home should be a safe
Haven.
place.
Yes. Yes,
Is
yes, I agree.
and um obviously, for anyone going through that, I really feel for them. And I do believe that maybe for some people there is a wake up call in this time of beginning to look towards leaving those types of unhealthy relationships, whether it's abusive or not.
Yeah.
It's very complicated. And even I have a background in social work and counseling. And so I know that even leaving abusive relationships is very dangerous. A lot of women lose their lives in that process. But for those that I do think that this, for everyone, in whatever your situation is, this pandemic has been a time where you can really look at your life and what you want moving forward. And if that's not what you want, this may be a time to look for help, and to seek help in moving out of that situation if you can.
That's really good. Unfortunately, I suffered at the hands of domestic violence in both my relationships. And, it's unfair when you have children and they witness it. And
It's
so that causes trauma with them. And it
does.
either lets the boys know this is what you do when you grow up,
Mhm.
and it lets the girls know you say nothing and take it.
Yes.
So you got
It's
to decide, I tell my daughter, no, you do not take anything. You stand up for yourself, you stack some chips, and you get the heck out of there, you know. So my heart definitely goes out to anyone that is in that type of situation. And my prayer is that you are surrounded by love and people that are strong enough to at least give you good counsel, because wise counsel in this situation, because sometimes you really can't take the words of, say, loved ones, your extended family, in-laws, because they're not there, they're not living the situation with you. So their heart may be to enable the person, or say, oh no, you're making this up, or oh, that was a mistake and he won't do it again. I'm telling you, it happens again. If it happened once, it will happen again. So
Yes.
we definitely want to
To
empower
say,
women. You want to
yes.
say something? Go ahead, John Lisa.
No, just when you were saying about being in a domestic violence, or now they're calling it, I think, intimate partner violence.
Mhm.
But about what it shows your kids, I think being exposed to that obviously is very damaging. And a lot of women, whether it's for financial reasons or other reasons, they feel they have to stay, or that the kids will be very sad without the other parent, or all of those things. And they make the sacrifice, but it is not something that you want to expose your kids to. And that having your parent be healthy, safe, and happy is more important than having that person in the house. And I was definitely exposed to domestic violence growing up in different settings, different ways. And it honestly showed me what I didn't want
Mhm.
in a relationship, in a spouse. And it also gave me this extra little radar about
Mhm.
people as I was dating and as I was meeting people. I didn't play. Like, I could spot who a person was pretty early on.
Mhm.
Like, nope, not for me,
Yeah.
because I knew that this is not a game. Like, this
Mhm.
is what this who you choose to be with matters so much. The character of who you choose to be with, their emotional and mental health, their just who they are, it matters so much. It's not a game.
No.
And a lot of people look past those red or yellow flags that come along in the dating process. And sadly, you know, sometimes it is that the person is an abuser or things like that.
Yes.
And
Well,
I just wanted
sorry, we're good.
I just wanted to just add to that, because I think, you know, like Jonna said, it's not a game, and you do need to go into dating with open eyes.
yes.
You need to go into marriage
Eyes wide open.
with open eyes.
Yes.
Because there is, and this is just my opinion here, but I do think that there is this perverse romanticism with marriage, with the wedding, with it's about one day, and you got the rest of your life after that. And there are vows that you've taken before God. Like, it is so important, because it's like Jonna said, it's not a game, and when life happens, you want to make sure that you are with somebody with character and integrity and the love of God to protect you and your family and your home.
You know, that's it's a key point, but it's real to me, because 5 years ago, I suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, and I died on my living room floor. And it was my husband that God spoke to and said, go check on your wife. But the key fact in that situation is we were separated at the time. I just happened to be over to watch a movie, Netflix and chill. Okay. And so it just showed me his heart. You know, after everything was said and done, I'm like, he was there for me. He took the extra care for me. He did what he needed to do to make sure that I was okay. And in turn, I did the same for him. You know, 2 years after my situation, he transitioned. But I had 2 weeks with him in the hospital. And it really let those vows come to play in sickness and in health until death do us part. And I believe God allowed me to go through that situation, and he gave me peace. He strengthened me, and he gave me peace. He gave me scripture to read over him, to anoint his head and his feet. So, you know, I know this is not a game. It's real life. And sometimes we're in situations and we don't really understand why, but you know, it's like whatever caused us to be separated at that time, we were able to discuss it. It wasn't like I shoved it under the rug. We sat down like adults and we talked about it. And there was forgiveness on both parts. So he extended forgiveness, I extended forgiveness, and then we came back together. And so I'm happy that it didn't just end like that. You know, that was not my demise. That was not his demise, you know, that we ended on a good note, and the Lord gave me peace that passed all understanding. So, you know, when he passed, the Lord himself came to me and he said, you need to stop saying you lost, because you didn't. You actually won. And he showed me the name Win Her. Win Her. And so he said, you're going to use that platform to teach other women, to empower women on financial well-being, on spiritual well-being, and wholeness, for self-love. And when he passed, I like I said in the beginning, I was feeling some kind of way, like the married couples that we had, I wasn't like, I didn't feel like I was, in touch anymore. Like, I can't really hang with you guys because y'all married and I'm not, so it was like, it was a difference. But the Lord himself, he has a way of really bringing us full circle and really showing people that are for you. And so people began to step up and let me know they were there for me, and I didn't have to feel like I was alone in the situation. So it gave me confidence, and it gave me this supernatural power to go forth and share my story. And so at the start of the pandemic, this is what the Lord showed me. He's like, you're going to start you're going to start a podcast, and you're going to share your story. And in your story, you're going to allow other people to share their story, and you're going to be able to minister. Those were the words of the Lord. I don't have to make it up. But
Right.
God himself, he has validated it. And so now I'm out here, I'm going for it, I'm doing what he's called me to do. And it's like, it is so rewarding, and it's comforting when I have couples like yourselves that can come on and share their story, their love story, and their unique things about themselves that they hold dear. Because I think, like I said, everyone is different, and we all have different wants and needs, but there is something that God has created for man and woman. There's something that woman has that men need. And so maybe, Jonalisa, you can kind of share some light on what that is. What has God revealed to you that men need?
I'm going to be listening very intently.
What does he need that I have?
You have something that he needs that only
How
you
much
can.
time do you have?
Girl, okay.
I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
It's okay. This is rated MA.
Answer this question.
Mature audiences.
No. What have I added that you need?
There's some value that you've added to Harvey's life. And so it's only something that you know, or maybe he knows that you've added. And so I believe the Lord, he shows it to us. He like lets us know. I mean, besides the obvious, there is something, there is something extra. There's something extra that you bring to the table. And that really not so much completes Harvey, but it lets you guys know that God solidified the relationship.
For sure. I can tell you from our first phone conversation, we had our first phone conversation before our first date.
Mm-hmm.
And in that first conversation, we talked maybe a couple hours. It was long. And in that conversation, he said, I can't believe I'm telling you these things. Like, I'm telling you things I haven't even told my closest friends about my life story.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just a connection there that he felt safe and free to open up so much of himself to me in ways that he hadn't done with anyone before. And I think some of that is on a practical level.
Yes.
He was adopted and grew up in foster care. I worked in foster care and adoption for a while, for years. And I really didn't know why until God called me to adopt. We're going to adopt eventually, but I didn't know why I never set out to like work with foster youth or anything like that, but it has helped him feel like there's certain things I don't have to explain to me, and there's certain things about him and his life story that I just get. Yes. Or even when we were talking about our backgrounds, we lived in really different places. I grew up in the hood of South LA. He grew up in Redondo Beach. Those are two totally different places.
Dynamics.
Totally different dynamics.
Yes.
But in his family, he was pretty different from a lot of people, and
in so many ways.
We love his family, but he was different, and we both saw some things growing up that were dysfunctional, right? In our families. We're really close with our families, but there were some things that were dysfunctional. But both of us have the same perspective, that we're going to see those things and it's going to teach us what we don't want.
Yes.
And we're going to move towards having functional, healthy lives. And so even before we knew each other, our perspectives were similar. But I think the biggest thing, like I said, that I've added is this kind of like knowing him. I don't want to say knowing him already, but it's almost like it's just like an understanding of him that is unexplainable.
I can understand that. And so, Harvey, what's so unique about Jonalisa that she brings that you see?
Well, I hate to repeat her answer, but I mean that's for me the biggest thing. When I sat down and thought, who is my wife going to be? Who is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with? Because I'm only getting married once, so I'm I don't want this to be right. I want this to be perfect.
Yes.
And the one thing that I kept telling myself for years was that, I don't know, maybe the wife I marry she's not fully going to understand. Because the way that I was raised and how I was raised is just unique and different, that's just going to be a piece of myself that I think that we're going to get to a point and it's just too much, too confusing. And it's just going to be something that she just won't get. And I can say that, she knows every corner of my past, who I am, and my life, and that being able to fully be vulnerable and open and be who I am, and for her not just to accept it, because anybody can accept, you're a foster child, you're adopted, et cetera, but to really understand.
Yes.
Because for me, understanding is a act of love, because understanding is a choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much sums it up. Basically, that God has prepared a person. Now, the world says soulmate, but I believe God says a suitable partner, a helper. And so someone that's compatible and someone that will understand and have compassion and extend that love, that God love, that agape love that never fails. And I think that's what I want for all couples, anyone that's desiring to be married, to have that center. You know what I'm saying? We want to have that heartbeat, God's heartbeat, because when we enter into a relationship, it's not just him and her, it's God and us together, where he's center of our lives. And from that center, we can grow and expand our family and just be good citizens, So I do appreciate you both coming on today and sharing a piece of your love story. And I love Team Us, because we're going to be hashtagging all month long. So number one couple, Team Us. And I just believe many blessings upon your union and your togetherness and your longevity and happiness, that you both find peace within the confines of your union. So I want to bless you. I want to thank everyone that has tuned in today to Inspired by Love. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Rachel Love on YouTube. And we'll be back for the next episode of Marriage and Dating, God's Design. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you for tuning in to Inspired by Love. Join us every Wednesday for the juice to be inspired. Like, follow, and share this podcast. Be sure to leave a positive rating.